everybody knew what a downwinder was. We were the anti-nuclear capital of the world. I was an autistic kid. My father was a drafted United States Marine, an incredible man. I come from an incredible family. My uncle stood on Omaha Beach on D-Day. I grew up on a huge ranch out by the lake. He was a beautiful, incredible person. He was at Pendleton, combat ready, and they were human guinea pig. They were marched into the trenches in Nevada. They're called atomic veterans. He nearly died at the blast. Between 1951 and 1968, we had 300 open-air tests. Well, as different scientists started to write about this, Wallace Stegner was at the University of Utah at the time. I got to know him. Edward Abbey was hanging around there. I got to know him. I got to know all these environmentalists, and I was an environmentalist, and it was a passionate, intense subject matter there.
All nuclear fighters, all hands on deck, all hands on deck, all hands on deck. All nuclear fighters, all hands on deck, all hands on deck, all hands on deck. They'll be calling you a radical. Bloomgate, 311, whatever you want to call it. I call it Pacific genocide, whatever. It's fucking giant conspiratorial across all demographics. All nuclear fighters, all hands on deck, all hands on deck, all hands on deck. They'll be calling you a radical. All nuclear fighters, all hands on deck, all hands on deck, all hands on deck. Bloomgate, 311, whatever you want to call it. I call it Pacific genocide, whatever. It's fucking giant conspiratorial across all demographics. They'll be calling you a radical. May God have mercy on all of your souls.
Nuclear power was evolving. We were promised, oh, this can't happen.
Well, good morning. Time really in your dogma snuggies today. What's going on culturally, philosophically, what's going on still? Still the media can lead the sheep. Everybody hates the mainstream media. They hate them, they hate them, they hate them, but they still rule. They still lead the freaking dogma sheep around by their leash like the bitches they all are. Now this audience in this radio show, it's obvious for the most part. They don't 10-second soundbite. That's the problem. When you jump in on a story or a thesis or a topic, it's hard to freaking do it 10-second soundbiting. It's hard to do it watching a 30-minute freaking propaganda machine, Sean Hannity. We're going to dive into the nuclear radiated Nevada test site and the war that's going on, that I'm heavily, heavily in the middle of this. I've lived here in this thesis my entire life. The Bundy Ranch situation, the FLDS inbred, baby rapers, everybody who threw in, they call themselves libertarians. Now, we're jumping in on this. You need to pick your battles. So here's the problem, and same with the nuclear cartel, same with solar, same with all of it. It's not a big swipe of a paintbrush. I grew up here on a ranch, a huge, giant ranch here in Utah. My bloodlines are infamous here. You guys have watched when I did the videos. I shot the very first video in history. People don't even know where the Utah War rocks are at. Type it in, Utah War. I am the one who named it the first 9/11. I named it the day after the second 9/11. What's the first 9/11? Type it in. That rocks up there. My great-great-grandfather is Ike Potter. My other grandfather is, my grandfather's Abraham Hunsaker IV. Moses Trace, I come from the most infamous bloodline. Type it in. Type in the Utah War, and we'll dive into this as history is repeating itself right here, right now. And as I call Cal Berkeley the head of the snake, maybe I need to change that. It's a two-headed snake. Where's the other? BYU. Oh, yes. Yeah, Karl Rove, Alito, Roberts, the whole freaking cartel. I want to talk about these creeps in southern Utah who you guys have thrown in. Sean Hannity has, maybe this will do Fox News in. When this is dug out, and it's going to be dug out, here in Utah, we all know the southern Utah thesis. People around the country don't know. I'm talking to bloggers, and I says, you didn't follow the Warren Jeffs story? Oh, he did. Where the fuck have you guys been? The Warren Jeffs story was the biggest story in America for years. Oh, you were too busy beating the war drums, freaking killing Iraqis who never did it. Joseph Smith. I'll start this off right here. You want to talk Mormon history with, good luck. the whole southern Utah dynamic, it goes even deeper than the Mormon Mountain Massacre, the first, and I'm the one that named it the first 9/11. Joseph Smith, when he got caught cheating with release of that woman by Emma. By the way, Emma stayed in Nauvoo when they came here. She'd left him before they killed him. It is every man's duty to have 10 virgins. It is also every man's duty to find those 10 virgins. Southern Utah are fundamentalist Mormons from that era, still to this day. To this day, they don't pay property taxes. They put all their women on food stamps. It's a weird dynamic here in Utah. The corporate welfare farmers are out behind me who are multiple generations families who came with my families, the very first people out there. They have it in their heads somehow that the United States government, because you got to realize Utah was called Deseret. The Mormons come out here. My grandpa led the Mormon battalion. His name's on the top. He was the captain. He owned the entire freaking top of the region. Abraham, I think, of the first. The fighting was over. They came here in 1847. Oh, what happened? The treaty was signed in 1848. This was Mexico in 1847. Oh, yeah. That's one thing I love about that girl. These celebrities and these phony pricks, and the only one that I give any respect to is Eva. She's I think she's 9th or 10th generation Mexican. She says, we didn't jump the border jumped us 7 times. We've lived under not 6 flags, 7 flags, 8 flags. This became, the Mormons come out and staked out their own chunk of ground, which was the entire western United States, which, do not kid yourself, is the richest natural resources on the face of the earth. It has it all right here. It has everything. It has timber. It has coal. It has gold. It has silver. It has it all. This is, it's ours. They created their own country right there where this cat's at. It's called the United Order. That was the experimental city, St. George. I'm going to tie this into nuclear and tie it into nuclear in a dynamic way. It comes right back here. My story is a compelling, comparing, passionate story. I met with a publicist. I've had several documentary filmmakers who want to do my gig. I tell them, no, it's got to be the right time, the right place. I said, this story is not over. It's unfolding. That'd be like Moby Dick, him writing the freaking book when he's, not all the way back home. I met with a publicist, and, they brought in their editor. Her talk, they, tried to give me this bullshit. So I asked her straight up, do you guys use the computer software like Sean Hannity uses, like Bill O'Reilly uses, like Helen Caldecott uses, like All uses? This is how literature works in this country. You'll sit down with a publicist, and without a publicist, you've probably got shit. You can do your online books all you want, sell a few here and there, and, feed your demographic. I'm not about to feed demographics. That's the problem with this America. I'm not going to feed your dogma. And this story down here just proves to me this country is still inbred in their dogma. They're still a hardcore racist all over. And I'll tell you why. I was looking at some videos yesterday on trying to get ready for this show. I was looking through the comments. My God. Colored people using words like that. This is 2014. The racism is so epically ignorant. Because what is the definition of ignorance? We're more ignorant than this, and I can prove that we're more ignorant than we've ever been. So people use that. They're anti-Semitic, they're freaking racist, they're anti-woman. Well, you want to talk the most anti-Semitic, the most racist, the most anti-woman, the biggest thieves, cheaters on the face of the earth. These make the Taliban look like freaking full blown out progressives. Southern Utah. Now, they were here. They were here in Utah, the fundamentalist Mormons. I grew up here. I'd go to school with them out by the lake. Now, I took Thomas Ackerman and Patrick out there, and I showed them on the best side of the lake where these huge Mormon old farms are. They're going all broke, but they just mooch off the government. They're corporate welfare farmers. This Bundy guy, is one of the greatest corporate wealth. They're baby raping inbreds who believe, they have it in their head, and they always have. They always have. This is a demographic that's passed out. Remember, the Mormons have their own currency. Mormon coins right now. Go find one. Go find you a $10 Mormon gold piece. They're the most valuable gold coins on earth. They have their own currencies, their own banks, their own merchants. That's existed forever and still does. They have it in their head still. And by the way, polygamy is legal here. Now, go back to Warren Jeffs. Warren Jeffs right here, Cottonwood Canyon. He ran a charter school. Now, the Mormons are doing that shit again, charter school all over. They're no different. They're worse than the indoctrination of the Pakistani children, of the Saudi children. It's the same thing. It's pure hardcore. And I grew up in it, but we had a progressive school district that broke free from these guys. I grew up out by the edge of the lake, and the girls, you'd see them. You know, there was always girls. You could do all the boys, too. They would dress up like cowboys. Now, remember this, cowboys. There were no cowboys here in Ogden, Utah. There were ranchers. Oh, yeah, farmers. I grew up with some of the most infamous ranchers in the world. They didn't dress like that. Put this bandana around their neck. How about these tight freaking jeans? You know, it's overcompensation. I've went on this rant for years. You show me a pretty cowboy, I'll show you overcompensating homosexual who's trying to overcompensate that he's not homosexual. It's Brokeback Cowboys is a brilliant, brilliant movie. I live out here. I know tons of those Brokeback Cowboy dudes. Seriously, I'm not kidding. I know plenty of people here that are gay as gay who have wife and multiple children. Why do you think this is the pill-popping capital of the world? Well, in southern Utah, it's on Balco. These people are radical. I mean radical, hardcore. They make the Taliban look soft. Now, how does this tie into nuclear? Well, I'll tell you how it ties into nuclear. Where they're ranging these cattle is in Mesquite, Nevada, on the Utah border. Now, if none of you know what a Lost Boy is, just type in Lost Boy. So they were here till 1950s. I remember I was stuck on one of their houses in the late 80s, early 90s, me and my crew. And this polygamist had multiple houses. That's what they did. And, I mean, they were disturbing. And, you know, the house was so disgusting. They had animals living in the house, whatever. They were just filthy, filthy pigs. You know, and they got run out of here, and they went down to southern Utah with the rest of their inbred cousins. And the one guy come across the street, and he says, hey, I got to tell you, I came to get the one boy for Boy Scouts one day, and one of the wives, their mothers or whatever, and by the way, they're not this dynamic you see on television. Oh, this guy with these fucking oh no. This is as creepy as get. The long dresses, I mean, they live like it's very similar to the Taliban. Very similar to the Taliban. They beat their women, they rape their children, they mooch off the government at all costs. They mooch off the government. They're corporate welfare farmers. It's a dynamic that's went on for years and years and years and years. They believe they're above everybody else. That they don't respect the federal government one side, not the state government, not any. It's theirs. God gave it to them. God told them it's theirs. Just like when they denounced polygamy. They didn't really denounce polygamy to get statehood because big, wide open spaces, Deseret. I mean, how can a freaking map of what Deseret was? The whole western United States. By the way, my great grandpa was one of the guys who found the gold at the Sugar Mill with the Mormon battalion when they came back up. The thesis is so creepy. It is so creepy. And so you as call yourselves libertarians, it's a little too late for libertarian idealism when we have nuclear radiation flying. Here's how it ties in. The Nevada test site. Oh, it's right there. Oh, yeah. Now here, let me tell you some things that most people don't understand about the Nevada test site. 350 open air tests. Well, there was much more than that going on down there. You got to realize this is in the 1950s for the most part. You want to talk about Timbuk 3? Las Vegas was a teeny outpost started by the Mormons. As the old story goes, the Italians own it, now Mormons are. Go down there and talk to a pit boss. Go down there and talk to anybody. They're all Mormons still. It was a Mormon outpost. The Nevada test site, when they're blowing up those bombs, their dump facility. Oh yeah, Mesquite, Nevada. So they blast them, but they just went out and dumped it. Now I have a young man who's in my YouTube site every day. He's great. He's an environmentalist. He's hardcore. He's a lost boy. You know, I know lots and lots of lost boys. I know lots and lots of the girls that come out of there. And a lot of those girls, by the way, are very beautiful females, and I'll tell you why. Because a lot of these guys, including more than likely these guys, were the Mormons recruited in Europe. A lot of them came from Scandinavian countries, and, you know, it's like horses. You know, you breed horses, which, by the way, they're into that too, and type in the Mountain Massacre. They were hauling horses to Santa Anita, dressed up like Indians, and slaughtered every man, woman, and fucking for no reason. No reason. God said, got away with it. Lee freaking got a bullet and freaking went to his grave there. And the Mormons denied it and denied it my whole life. You brought it up when I was a kid, just like our university here. Bring up Fawn McKay Brody, the greatest female writer in American history in the last 100 years. Yeah, on our university. I knew her personally. Oh, you can't even mention her name here. They don't even have a statue of her. They do have a little T scholarship. They keep quiet. Oh, Bernard DeVoe. Oh, yeah, these are Utahns right here. These are Organites. All these quintessential writers. So when they would blast everything, they would dump it out there. This kid goes out there all over. He grew up out there. Me and him talk all the time about all the nuclear waste that's all over out there. They just threw it out there. You got to realize this is the edge of the Mojave. It's 130 degrees there in the summertime. They just dumped it there. You know, it's everywhere out there. It's like the people that go to Moab, and I'm in the bone marrow transplant at LDS hospital. That's the people from Mesquite and St. George, they land there. It's very thinly populated. It's polygamous, FLDS, inbreds. The whole community, and they're all related. Just like everybody that showed up to his protest, all his relatives. These people, they're multiple wives, they're giant inbred families, giant. That's who showed up. This guy is a thief. This guy's a business. I mean, this is an acquaintance of Warren Jeffs. Now, the only thing George Bush got right, that evil weasel that he was, the moron, well, he got just manipulated by Dick Cheney. He got one thing right. Warren Jeffs finally, he had a school right here, Cottonwood. He was baby raping his whole life. His father taught him how to baby rape. These guys fuck 12-year-olds, 11-year-olds, 10-year-olds. Line them up. Warren Jeffs' father, at 85 years old, was fucking 12 and 14-year-olds. They're fundamentalists, hardcore. They make the Taliban. As my one buddy says, I see the Mormons got the Taliban going. And think about this. The Mormon women protest at their conference here because they won't let them in the priesthood. Now, the Non-Discrimination Act that was passed in the 70s, which says that you cannot discriminate and have not tax-free status. Now, there's loopholes. But the loophole, yeah, now if you read the law, the loophole, and the Mormons skirt this and use this and manipulate this through BYU law. Oh, Mike Lee, his brother's head of the Utah Supreme Court. Oh, both attorney generals taking bribes. White-collar crime is totally legal in the state of Utah. It's not only legal, it is perforated and it's taught. It's encouraged. That is the economy here. For real, for real. I mean, it's so grotesquely corrupt. This place is so fucking corrupt, the entire state. But those guys that are down there, a whole other level, they believe that the federal government doesn't even exist. Yet they'll put all their women on food stamps. They'll get government subsidies. The corporate welfare department, who's a Weber County commissioner, and so many of these people, $10 million, and they own very little land. I mean, just like this guy. It's the same thesis. They own hardly any land. They buy up a little land that nobody wants because it's not worth anything. Then they go to work on the federal programs. The milk subsidy, the cattle, every subsidy, they become masters at use. But they hate the federal government. But they draw millions. That's exactly who this guy is. Exactly. Just like Warren Jeffs. Oh, we don't believe in the government. And by the way, Colorado City, Hilldale, the entire dynamic down there, none of them have ever paid freaking property tax. None of them. And you think Utah's fucked up. What about Colorado? Colorado's afraid of them. Utah finally did go after Jeffs for that arranged marriage, that little wall girl, because my ex-mate who I was with for decades, that's her cousin. I was involved. The relationship I had was an FLDS girl. She grew up in it. She was adopted. You know, and I knew that she had a really, really beautiful female, incredible female. Her and I were partners for years, but all of a sudden things started happening to her, and psychologically, you know, she'd snap, and I said, "What is it with you, girl?" And then one day she said, "I got to tell you, Kevin, I have to tell you. You know I was adopted down there, and I told you I was adopted when I was 1 or 2. I wasn't adopted until I was 13. I says, oh, no. She says, I knew as soon as she told me that. I says, you lived in an LDS family too? She said, yeah. Why didn't you tell me that? She lied to me all this because she knew. She knew. I knew right then. Oh, my God. Oh, no. Oh, no. I'm doomed. I'll end with this relationship. I'm doomed. She's doomed. I knew it. She's like, yeah. I was raped and raped and raped and raped and raped. And then, you know, by her own father, forever and ever, and her grandfather. That's what they do. You know, and then they marry them when they're 13, 14. That's who these people are down there. They call themselves Mormon, but they're not Mormons. They're FLDS. The Mormon tries to denounce them and push it away, but I can prove how they protect them still to this day. Warren Jeffs got convicted here of that. He was in Utah State Prison. The Utah Supreme Court overturned that conviction. But I'll tell you what these lunatics did wrong. They went to Texas. One thing about Texas, you can say anything you want about Texas. Ain't dealing with no fucking pedophiles. Oh, no. So these creeps built their massive temple down there in West Texas thinking it was Timbuktu and the boonies and nobody else. But they're so arrogant. They think they could continue these practices, and they don't have to abide by the law. They don't have to abide by state law. They don't have to abide by federal law. They abide by God. They'll tell you. They will tell you. You talk to this guy behind closed doors. His inbred family, all these people, they're very little educated because they don't go to school. They don't have schools. They have their own schools. They don't believe in science. They don't believe in anything. He will tell you. They'll tell you straight up, we go by God's law. It goes on. That's what they'll tell you. Yet they'll manipulate the freaking federal government every angle they can because they feel like it's they just told him. That's this guy. This guy, they own property down there. That is the Nevada test site dumpster. There should be no cattle grazing in there. Now, how the industry works, I grew up in this ranch. You know, this is how the modern day rancher works. And it's always worked this way. You want to be a rancher? You know, most ranchers, you wouldn't even know they're ranchers. Cowboys, please, dress up in these freaking cowboy hats. And anytime my dad used to call them drugstore cowboys. We grew up on that big dynamic. And type in the famous movie scene with Marilyn Monroe as they're out there laughing on the horse. That's very real here. That was our ranch. Right there at our ranch, that goes on. As I shot that video, you can type in, I tagged that video in the video I did yesterday about that crippled horse out there. The same thing that was dying, starved to death. And KSL, the #1 media, played it. Put it on. I was on the 6 o'clock news, lead story. All of a sudden, I get a call from the news. Oh, you're not going to be on 10 o'clock news, and we pulled it off our website. It was on the front page of their web. Oh, why? High-ranking Mormon polygamist rancher. That's a felony. They have wielded incredible power here via BYU. Incredible power they wield. Mike Lee, our senator, who was handpicked by Judge Alito, who was placed by Bush, and Bush did not win. You want to talk radical ideologues? Even Robert, he makes Scalia look freaking open-minded. It's not a court. Mike Lee's house. Now, this is in Utah, and this is a fact. Mike Lee's house, first sitting United States senator in United States history, while he's senator, having his house focused. Now, how was that not exposed that he was $1.1 million to the bad when he's preaching teabagger fiscal responsibility? That's all they preach. Okay, that's all he ran on because we have closed caucuses in the Republican Party here. Well, the Republicans win every single election here, bar none, because the Mormon Church influenced it. Same with Wyoming, same with Idaho. Same with a lot of Nevada. The Mormon Church completely dominates and runs it. Oh yeah, everybody's a Mormon. So when they go in there, they decide behind closed doors. It's decided at BYU law through the Mormon Church. Mike Lee was handpicked as a gift to Alito. He was his lead staffer, who was picked by Karl Rove. That's right. His house is in for, so the media here, we have the Deseret News, we have the Tribune. Oh no, they won't touch it. None of it has ever reported anywhere here. His house gets foreclosed on, okay? In Utah, it's the debt collection attorney. We have two major attorney universities, University of Utah and BYU. They're giant. They're law schools. We have so many freaking scumbag collection attorneys here. That's all these Mormons do is sue each other over and over and over on debt. Buy here, pay here. It's the usury capital of the world. And they call themselves the U on the mountain is for usury. So, in Utah, you get your house foreclosed on. They short sell the house. Say you owe $300,000, you sell for $150,000. That $150,000, you don't walk away from that. That's legal tender in the state of Utah. And these guys will line up 1,000 deep and buy the debt and sue you and garnish your wages. And you can't get out of it. You will garnish your wages for life. You can't bankrupt out of it here. Mike Lee short sold his for $600,000 they ate. He owed $1 million on it, I believe, and they sold it for $400,000. His friend bought it, and I understand he's living in it. Why is this not reported in the media? It is because your dogma. You hand to, oh, he's a teabag. Really? 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 So why is he not sued for it? Oh, J.P. Morgan, I thought he was anti-banker. I thought, oh, he just get rid of food stamps. He's for all corporate welfare farmers. Oh, yeah. How come he's not? He makes $170,000 a year as Congress. Why is his wages not garnished? Oh, his brother's head of the Utah Supreme Court. Oh, yeah. It's so grotesque, corrupt here. Idaho's even worse. Wyoming's even worse. There are more Mormons per capita in Idaho and Wyoming than there are here in Utah. Now, Salt Lake City becomes the abstract. Well, now you think about this. This is how crazy it is. The gay capital of the world. There's more gay in, couples and openly gay. Our mayor, who's great, I love the guy in Salt Lake City, is openly gay. The gay capital of the world is Salt Lake City, Utah. That's the only thing they fought. The Proposition 8 in California fought on both sides. Mormon Church fights on one side, Bastion, who invented the word perfect, on the other side. That's the dynamic here. So the Nevada test site, those open-air bombs, and they're ranging cattle out there. Now, the cattle industry, you go to the auction, you buy feeders or whatever. Ranchers like that, they try to spring, have babies, whatever, but, they'll let them breed, whatever, but he's too lazy to even do that. Most of them are too lazy because you have to fence them, you have to round it. That's work. They just go to the auction. They buy up young calves, truck them out to open range. Bureau of Land Management, which is the entire state for the most part. Now remember, these people didn't homestead. My great-grandparents were the very first people here. They bought it. This was Mexico till 1848. When you own a piece of property in the United States, you go to Ireland, they'll tell you, why can't you guys own anything? Property tax. I mean, look at your property tax. I want you to get out your freaking property tax. Look how much you pay in property. Oh, he doesn't have to pay any? Okay, so the Bureau of Land Management, the federal government, who owns vast, vast land, most of it, they own it. Nobody's going to want it anyway. What are you going to do with it? You have to have water rights. Water rights, water wars are giant here. This guy owns water rights were extremely valued. He inherited them. Multiple generations. So he takes land that does not belong to him. He refuses. He paid his lease on it till 93 and then just says, no, we're not paying, because that's how these people roll. They're going broke. Those lease bills are expensive. Property taxes are, we're talking thousands of acres of real estate, multiplied by many thousands. It's like I was talking to Joni Ray when we were down there at the center office. She's, hey, I had some money I was going to buy. I saw that you could buy a whole square mile in Mesquite, Nevada for cheap. And I said, are you crazy? Do you realize? I mean, people here move down there. I said, you're nuts. It's a nuclear waste dump of the world. The ground there is the most nuclear radiated. It's as bad as Chernobyl, maybe worse. They just dump Lost Boy. He goes out there all the time. And by the way, when I was in Manhattan for years, working on Wall Street, my boss, everybody used to call me Lost Boy. I'm not a Lost Boy. I'm not. I had my mom and dad and my grandparents, which were incredible, amazing people. My grandparents were Mormons. They weren't that. They're incredible, wonderful people, loving people. My fathers, they'd round up those horses, those wild horses out there, and you watch that man, very real. My father would be drugstore cowboys. They weren't ranchers. They weren't farmers. I grew up on. My grandmother used to say, these cowboys, real ones, would ride in for miles when the baby was born to see the child. They sure went. They dressed up in these tight jeans and this cowboy hat. And when I went to school, you'd see those guys. It's a novelty, and they get them a horse. Buy them an acre of ground. Then they realized on my ranch after our farm, or the family farm, here a few years ago when the thing get melted down, because everybody's got to have a horse. It's a novelty. They move out, they get an acre. Oh, I'm a cowboy, dress up like a cowboy, put on this show. I get up at the big, giant, open field pasture, and there'd be horses in there all the time. They're expensive. It costs a lot of money to feed an animal. There would be horses. They'd just dump them off. Now, we made it against the law in the United States to slaughter horses now because of the racehorse industry. So people, I know a guy right here trucks them to Canada. You know, a lot of the world eats them. The ranching industry, this guy is a mooch. He's a government mooch from hell. They have it in their head. They really believe this. These guys are pedophiles. Now, the girl that I was involved with, so she was incredible. You know, she's still incredible. But she's got so many sides, so where did she end up? You know, her and I couldn't handle her, you know, because girls that have been sexually molested as young have hardcore anger issues, and they'll snap on the person they're with. They can't deal with it psychologically. They're wounded forever. It's a very tough gig to overcome that. We have tons of it here. In the Utah State Prison, they call it the Momo section. You know, lots of my friends have been in prison, whatever, they'll tell you, it's bigger than the general population. They keep them separated. And he says, they're all goody Mormon hairspray guys. I know a guy right here, right now. I always liked the guy. He was married to my own cousin. It's her second marriage. Come to find out, you know, I thought he was a goody Mormon. Freaking, he talked at my aunt's funeral, you know, carried on. My mom tells me, you ain't going to believe this. You know, those beautiful granddaughters of hers? Yeah. This creepy fucker was fucking, no, yeah, they grew up to being told. So, he just, you know, they go to the cops, whatever. I mean, he hardcore, these are beautiful women, since they were little girls. He goes to prison for 8 months. That's Utah. Southern Utah on Balco, it's legal down there, really. There's no law enforcement because their whole family are the sheriffs. You know, one thing, as much as I badmouth CNN and Anderson, Vanderbilt, he covered the freaking Warren Jeffs thing beautifully. Mrs. Jepson, all these girls that have escaped, they're great. They're wonderful. Now remember this, too. These factions that were from here that went down there, the Chernoffs, all of them, they ended up fighting with each other because they all claimed to be the prophet, the real prophet. So they start, I mean, they kill each other. I mean, there were massive murders. I grew up with several of them. I was involved with the one. I mean, people don't know. So when they throw in with a dynamic like this, they don't understand. Southern Utah is one of the most rural places in the world, Mesquite, Nevada. These people live in their own world. They have their own community. You start checking out. Hanley throws in with this guy, and you people that just, dogman, I had a guy call me yesterday, and he says, Kevin, well, you know, the BLM, yeah, this is Utah. Utah, everybody understands the war with the Bureau of Land Management. It's been going on for decades and decades. Tim DeChristopher went to prison. Now think about this. These guys are raping the land, dumping shit all over. They're raising cattle in nuclear waste, putting it into the food chain. When these things got, there's only 6, I believe, meat packers. Ogden, Utah was the meat packing capital of the world when I was a kid. One of the hardcore, strongest. These meat cutters, everybody worked meat cutters. These guys are making $15, $16 an hour in the 1970s. They moved it up to Hiram, to Logan, to these trips, and it's all, they exploit illegal labor. That's all they do. There's only 6 of them, I believe, in the entire United States now. So all the meat that gets grazed everywhere goes into the same place. You don't know where it's coming from. So go get you a fucking hammer. It's like the Pacific Ocean. Dumping in. Is the whole Pacific Ocean genocide? I don't know. But we know that it's pockets. We know that they're dumping into the ocean over and over. So how do you eat fish? I mean, how do you eat meat? You know, and I like, you know, you see, my diet's very different right now. I'm a person who went through heavy chemo with leukemia. You know, a guy says, oh, you got a genetic code in your freaking family. Oh, no, I don't. My father's family, every one of them lived to very old. I mean, my aunts, they're going to name the BYU English department after my aunt down there. I mean, these people all lived to be 100. Brothers and sisters. One of them just passed away, my D-Day uncle, Omaha Beach uncle. He just died. I think he was 88. You know, none of them's ever had cancer. My dad was nuked by that site. Yeah, his sperm lit up. Yeah, my brothers and sisters don't have it, thank God, and I hope none of them get it. I have a twin sister, but I got it. It's nuclear fallout, it's nuclear radiation. Oh, low-level amounts don't hurt you. Bullshit. It's such lies as we posture and groom. So having these guys throw in, oh, I want to be a libertarian, I'm going to get a gun, and I'm going to fight. But what? What are you talking about? Are you kidding me? Oh, they won. What did they win? What are you talking about? It's easy how it's going to play out. The same way it's always played out. These are the same stories that have gone in Utah my whole life. Adam Swap just got out of prison, by the way. This happened in the 80s. He killed the cop. These things have been going on here for years and years and years and years. This is the same old my whole life. These girls, you'd see them. Lived on these ranches. I lived out by the lake. There's a lot of polygamists out there still. They're old and gone now. You see these beautiful girls in the long white dresses. We lived in a very progressive school district. But it was mixed in. So you see the outfit, and you could see they were backwards. The girls were backwards. Really backwards. A lot of them were really beautiful. Well, they grew up. They bolt. They bust out of there. They get out of the cage when they turn fucking old enough. They don't want to be fucked by an old guy and be raped anymore. Where do they go? They go to Las Vegas, Nevada. Half the strippers in freaking Las Vegas, Nevada are freaking girls from here. I think it was 2020 or one of them did an incredible documentary on the porn industry down there and the escort and prostitute industry and how many. They had the one girl who I knew her. I knew her from another girl here who was in the porn industry down there. She says, I grew up with my father, a Mormon bishop, blah, blah. That's the dynamic here. In southern Utah by 10 times. So you got these young girls. They're raped over and over and raped by old men. A lot of times by their own fathers. That's the people you're throwing in with down there. And you better understand the southern Utah dynamic. And by the way, even driving through there is scary. I won't drive through there anymore. I fly. They got traps down there, and all the police down there, they're all inbred cousins. The cops they're all related. Nobody was down there. It's so sparsely populated. The only other people down there are the Navajos on the reservation. Talk to the Navajos down there about it. You know what their incident of leukemia is? Don't you love it? Here, we push them all onto the off. They live right there in those beautiful national parks. Doing tourism down there. Tourism is giant. Moab, Utah is so contaminated. Our hospital's so full of people, marquee athletes. And my theories on this, now finally the Tribune reported it. Why are we not talking about this, the uranium tailings? Now, she's done the documentary. She talked to me. I've talked to her multiple times, Hot Water. Beautiful documentary. I love her work. Same with the publicists, people that want to do work. I won't do it. I'm going to wait till the right person in the right time. This is, like my daughter says, Dad, this story is so compelling and so important to yours. You have to have the right people in the right end. I'm not going to let them run it through a soundbite machine and posture and groom, feed the demographic like Sean Hannity, like Bill O'Reilly do. That's who writes their books. The computer writes their books, and the same people, Helen Caldecott, they buy the same book over and have you ever read any of the book? They're the same book over and over and over, and the same people buy them over and over and over. It's a computer with buzzwords and cliches. It's not going to happen with me. My story is too compelling. I've told my story in real time on YouTube as the modern day literature. I say the paperback book is dead. The paperback writer is dead. I was born with this autistic, huge brain. You even look at photos when I was born. I had freaking girlfriend. She said, oh my God, you look like an alien, you and your twins. We were born with these giant brains. We were so nuclear mutated. As I say, I'm a mutated sunflower blowing in the wind. I'm literally, for real. My dad's sperm was so lit up like a Christmas tree. Who knows where it mutates? Who knows how it goes? But they'll lie to you and say, oh, it can't genetically mutate. We know that children of the atomic veterans, we know, they'll tell you to have 3 times higher incidence of getting AML, leukemia, getting MS, getting autism, getting all these diseases, when we know it's really probably 15 or 16 times higher. Southern Utah is the cancer, leukemia, death capital of the world. Bar none. These guys are grazing cattle in the most toxic, radiated place on the face of the earth. We all grew up here knowing what Downwinder was. By the way, Jim Matheson, who I'm friends with, went to his election. When he got elected, and the polls lied with Mia Love, so she was ahead by 12, and he went, because that's what they do. The polls lie. Everything's corrupt here. The whole media, the Mormon church is so grotesque, corrupt. They call it, they're not Christians. The same with the evangelicals. They're not Christians. What they may used to be, but they are not now. They drank the Kool-Aid, and they're all in it. They're the culture of death. They're the haters. They're the white-collar crimes. We hate the federal government. We hate the federal government, but we want to rob the federal government. That's what they do. He pays no lease. That is the big, and you people that are all in business for yourself, you understand. You have overhead. The biggest component typically in most businesses are labor. We've slashed and crushed that labor, brought in illegal labor, pay them cash. It's not the exploited, it's the exploiter. We never had a fence. By the way, that spills into the Romney family, too. The rest of the Romney family live in northern Mexico. Now, how are they able to survive in northern Mexico? Nobody survives there. That's the most drug cartels that have total control of the wars. They kill. Oh, they are the drug. Oh, yeah. Polygamists. They work every angle because they have this philosophy in their head still down crazy. They're insane people. Racist, bigots, anti-woman. Oh, they make the Taliban look like freaking loving to women and children. These women walk around long dresses and freaking 3 feet behind the men. They're brainwashing and indoctrinating the young boys as soon as they turn 17, 18, because the math doesn't work. They kick them out. They go to Las Vegas. So many of them are hardcore alcoholics. A lot of them are up here. I know tons of them. I know it's sad. These dynamics in Southern Utah, they have destroyed so many young people. My ex-girl, she's so beautiful. And so where does she end up? Oh, yeah, where do they all end up? Swinging on a pole in Las Vegas. It's where they all end up. I mean, she's got to be, well, she's in her 40s now, still doing it, you know. Cocktail, I mean, makes a lot of money. She understands her issues. That's her coping mechanism. It's sick. It's sick. So Sean Hannity throws in with these guys. Now, I understand you want to be the freaking anti-federal government revoltist. Well, with nuclear fallout, fine, and that's a little late for that. 315 million. Now, you think about it. You got 315 million people in this country. Let's all just say, fuck it. You know, let's just take it. You know, as I used to have this crazy freaking guy I used to work with, great big crazy fucking guy. He was hilarious, this guy. He'd say, you know, okay, well, I'm just waiting for caveman week. And I says, you look like a fucking caveman. What do you mean? He says, I just take what I want. Okay, let's just do that. So you want to think, oh, we're going to be left turns with our guns, so the biggest army freaking wins. Okay, that's called feudalism. So you got the biggest army with your, I don't think so. So didn't we fight the Revolutionary War to get away a system like that? Yeah. What happens? The biggest, strongest army takes all the natural resources. And that's what they are down there. They're like, come into our fucking town. We'll shoot you. Oh yeah, do not kid yourself. Do not kid yourself. To escape out of there, talk to any of these women. Well, read Jepson's books. She's great. They're originally from right here. They ran them out of here. Read her books. To escape out of there is downright fucking dangerous. Now, the boys, they just throw them the fuck out. For a fucking young girl to not fucking be subservient and these old guys fuck them. Talk to her. Read their books. These are the people that Kennedy is thrown in with. These are creepy, creepy fucking government mooches. These are welfare queens fucking on Balco. So the overhead to the ranching industry is your feed and your land. Now, why do you think they use feedlots now? They use feedlots now so they don't have to fucking graze because it costs them money. Land costs money. Okay, let's tell me you own your house. You decide you're going to move, whatever, so you're just going to, some guy just fucking, this guy says, oh, now it's mine, fuck you, I'm going to move in, it's my house. And then, if you try to kick him out, Sean Hannity's going to show up, and a bunch of fucking lunatic relatives and propaganda make it look like there's thousands of people when there's only a couple hundred, and they're all fucking relatives, and play it on the media. No, it doesn't fucking work that way. You're going to rent that house. Well, that's what landowners do. They lease their land to cattle ranchers. Out behind my house, some of the biggest cattle ranchers in the history of the fucking, I grew up on that. I grew up on that huge dynamic. I remember my grandpa having a fit when they started feedlots. The biggest feedlots in the world were here in Ogden, Utah. The cattle, where do you think I learned to be the derivative trader? The cattle futures pits here were fucking giant. I was in on those tables in fucking Ogden at 14 years old, watching guys carry suitcases of cash in there, tens of millions of dollars laying on tables. Because they traded in cash in those days. Chicago had nothing on this place because the railroad met here. That's how the overhead to ranching is the land. So this guy goes to radiate a nuclear land that nobody fucking wants. The fucking government couldn't sell that land if they wanted because of the liability, and they know that. It's a nuclear radiated. If, say they put it up for sale, and they sold it, 10 years later, a guy fucking sues them and says, hey, it's nuclear radiated, that guy's going to win. No court's not going to fucking turn that. They know it's worthless. So what is the government even doing leasing it? So I understand that part of the equation. The Bureau of Land Management, corrupt? Oh, fuck, we know that. Fuck, which agency isn't corrupt? But this guy, grazing cattle on nuclear radiated and not paying the fucking lease. And they want to put it, that's what should be there is a fucking solar farm. There's solar farms all over in the Mojave that already went on. I was in at Pismo Beach the day that the big one went on. Fuck, California's all fucking... So, and I don't know if any of you have been down there. The sun shines every day, all fucking day. All day, every day. 365 days a year. The fucking desert. The beautiful, beautiful fucking desert. It's like Rob Bishop here. The only thing he got through, our congressman, that piece of shit. People don't know who he is because he hides in his basement. The Republican Party is done behind him. One-party politics with absolute power comes absolute corruption. That's what we have here. There's one-party politics here, and the Mormon Church picks hand picks. He got a bill passed. The only thing in fact, one of the agencies voted him as the laziest congressman in history. Now, get this. He's been a congressman for 13 years. His balance sheet is minus $200,000. How's that possible? He makes $170,000 a year and doesn't work. They voted him as the laziest congressman in America. Never goes to work. People here don't even know who it is. I proved it in my PhD. Oh, we hate Obama. We hate freaking Bush. We hate them all. We hate and hate. Well, who's your congressman? Don't know. Nobody knows. He hides. They handpick him because he knows no Democrat. There's no two-party politics here. Once it's in, their caucuses are closed. They're not open primaries. They're handpicked by BYU Law, Carl Rove and the boys. That's who picks them. They win. They're corrupt. So he has done nothing. Doesn't even go to work. Doesn't go to work. He's pathetic. A hairsprayed, fat-ass, hamburger, and pathetic fucker. So he gets one bill in 13 years that he's worked on to take a handgun into a national park. Now, I grew up on a ranch. This is the home of John Browning. Now, I knew about Browning personally. He rolled on his fucking grave. This is the home of the gun. AK-47s, really? Those cheap, the guy who invented it called it the weapon of mass destruction. $9 cheap fucking guns? All these fucking cheap fucking guns? Fucking Glock clips? Really? So his claim to fame is the murder of a little girl this summer at Yellowstone. There hasn't been a murder in a national park in fucking 30 years. Yeah, we need a handgun in a national park. And I'm all for gun owner rights. I'm all for the Second Amendment. But I'm for every amendment. The Ninth Amendment left it open. Remember this. We've amended it 27 fucking times. This is the longest we've ever went without an amendment. They left the Ninth open for a reason because they knew that you hypothesize future generation. Oh, that's what the fucking nuclear industry does. Oh, left future generation. Oh, we'll clean it up with technology. Okay, I've been hearing that for 40 fucking years. And there's always somebody new. You know, people fall for it. Oh, this guy has fucking fusion. This guy has fission. This guy, they have it. University of Utah right here. Remember when they had it in the 80s? I know that fucking guy. He's still here, that crazy Hungarian fucker. Remember he was all over now? I got cold fusion. They were lying the whole time. They're always all lying because it's about federal funding. Livermore gets billions in federal funding. They're not going to cut that off. Carlsbad. Oh, $5 billion to the economy. Because of the economy, because there are no jobs. Idaho. I go on and on and on. There's 252 of these fucking dump sites. And his cattle are ranging on one of them. Probably the worst one. And the shit's just laying out on the top. Last boy shows me his Geiger counter. He calls me, he says, fuck. Here's what I found out there on that fucking desert today. Oh my God, really? They just took shit and just dumped it there for fucking decades and decades. Right there. Right there where he's ranging those cattle. And Hannity wants to throw on with this fucking guy. Wow. Pick and choose your battles. Be careful. And that's the thing with YouTube and these fucking lunatic fucking radicals in their fucking basements and their fucking sky cameras. Get the fuck out of your basement. Get out in the street and go for a walk, motherfuckers. I'm sick of those fuckers. You basement fucking lowers on a fucking keypad. Get off your fucking ass and join the human fucking race. Yeah, my keyboard, fuck. That's a small component to my activism. Join the human race, Sean Hannity. Sitting in your little fucking Democrat. That's a terrorist. That guy is a hardcore terrorist. Abe in Japan. Oh, we're going to put new nuclear up. That's a terrorist. Let's go back to the former Prime Minister of Japan and Gregory Jackal. Oh, Harry Reid grew up at Yucca Mountain. Oh, that's why he appointed Jackal to block Yucca Mountain. Yucca Mountain's a national biosphere. It's been built for decades. By law, the nuclear waste had to be in there by the 70s. Every single president has signed an executive order to kick the can. Why? I pledge allegiance to the United States of nuclearism, and that's why. It's a cash cow, just like the Mormons have done here and the Mormon farmer. They've got so used to their welfare queens. The greatest welfare queens in the world is nuclearism. Corporate welfare farmers. It's generational. You know, they used to say, oh, yeah, you take Mike Lee, he'll go on this rant saying, oh, you know, you take a person and you give them a little bit of fuck. Really? You're going to bitch about fucking a couple $100 worth a month of food stamps? Really? Really? When all the jobs are in China? When these guys are getting fucking hundreds of billions of fucking months. So it creates a culture. That's exactly what's happened. It's created the government mooch welfare queen culture. Cal Berkeley's the greatest welfare queens in the fucking history of humanity. Cal Berkeley. The Livermore Lab. Not my words. The guy who resonated, he resigned out of the coal fusion, running the coal fusion. He resigned at Livermore. You know, billions of dollars a year they get? Billions. Same with the corporate welfare farmers. Oh, the fucking subsidies. It becomes a culture. That's all they know. That's all they know. It becomes their kids that end up, this guy learned it from his father. His kids learned it from him. His kids learned it from him. You just mooch off the government, it's government welfare. They'll give you a fucking check. We'll give you free land. It doesn't matter. Just go ahead and just fucking range your cattle anywhere. In fucking the most radiated thing, and then dump it into the food chain on the rest of us. Because they believe, and this is a fact, look it up. And I remember when I was a little boy, my incredible grandma, I grew up out on that huge ranch on the Dynamic, and I had an incredible teacher when I was young. I was autistic. I had this giant fucking mind. I remember the second grade testing. I mean, I had trouble tying my shoes. She came to me, she called my grandma, and my grandma came up there. They were friends. My grandma was an incredible dynamic fucking historian who everybody knew. She was a genius. And she's like, oh my God, have you seen Kevin Tessie? No, but I know he's gifted. And they laid him out there. And I remember looking at the test scores. I mean, they were college level, everything, but I couldn't tie my fucking shoes. So I came home one day from primary. The Mormon fucking, you know, you were in church, and I said, he's the Mormon community. I said, Grandma, what's a Gentile? What's a Gentile? Well, that's everybody besides us, Mormons. Well, they taught us in primary that all the Gentiles are going to hell. And we're the only ones going to heaven. I said, Grandma, there's billions of people on earth. Yeah, that's right. There's only a couple million of us. That can't be right. No, that's what the Mormons believe. I don't think she believed it. That's what they believe. They really do believe, especially down there. They believe they're getting their own planet. Look it up. They believe they're getting their own planet with fucking multiple virgins. The demographic, the thesis comes right out of the book of fucking Abraham, right there, same as the Muslim thesis. We have went backwards so far in this country in 30 fucking years, especially here in Utah. We have backed up. And then we reality television shows that fucking grandstand fucking polygamy. Now, the only reason we ever tried Green, remember Green? Remember him? Went on all the shows with all his fucking wives, that ugly creep, and he went to Utah State Prison. The only reason Mike Levitt, it's amazing to me. Isn't it amazing how all these Utahns run for president? Rocky Anderson ran for president. That stupid fucker. I mean, don't be wrong. I mean, how about Huntsman running for president? Every one of these Utah. Mike Levitt was going to run for president. He got a cabinet position in the Bush administration. His brother was a prosecutor down there in Juab County, Greens County. Started making a lot of national press. This guy's on TV. Yeah, I got all these women on fucking welfare, blah, blah, blah. This. They use the fucking shit. People were aghast in the country and outraged. So Mike Lee, Levitt had no other choice. His brother was a prosecutor there. Oh, this is all in the family. Oh boy, on Balco here. So they prosecuted him. He went to prison for a couple of freaking years for welfare fraud. Not polygamy. Polygamy is not against the law here. It's not. So they put this weirdo on television right there who's a freak, who I believe none of these girls fucking are really involved. I think it's all fake. I think it's all fucking false bravado. And it's amazing to me how the women here will participate. The Mormon Church, remember when they let the African Americans in? And they will still use the word colored here. They let both of them in. There was a group in Africa that founded a Book of Mormon. Now the Mormons actually have missionaries over there. They have them everywhere, 18-year-olds. Before, in 1977, these Africans came over here. You know, they started their own church, their Mormon ward in Africa. They came over here, and then they hit them, hey, we can't be in the priesthood. And then they started to realize they're racist. So one of them sued them. The Mormon church was going to lose, and they knew they were going to lose. Albert Taft Benson, who was an ideologue, John Bircher, who set this state back fucking 100 years in the theology of the Mormon fucking hierarchy, which, make no mistake about it, the Mormon church runs this state, they run Wyoming, they run Idaho, and most of Nevada. Period. So they have a revolution, they let the African American. Now, can you imagine being black and wanting to be in the Mormon church? Oh, isn't there false bravado, meal love? Going to take the last seat of the last Democrat standing, which really isn't a Democrat, which isn't even a liberal regret, because the whole fucking Republican Democrat Party, both of them are completely gone. They're gone. Not my words, Eisenhower's daughter's words. Gone. Going, gone. People say, oh, I don't care who. Well, then why are you so politically motivated bitching about presidents? Presidents don't make law in this country. Congress does, and Congress is representative of government. Fact. Change comes from the bottom up, not the top down. And when you got guys like Hanley propagating this stuff and just throwing out an issue, and you guys go for it in your basement. And I'll tell you why people go for it in their fucking basements. Because they've checked out of the human race. Just like me fighting cancer. Did you see me hiding in the basement? No. I know a lot of people that did when they got leukemia, and they fucking died. Out on the street, that's where we'll meet. Because you have to understand society and culture, you have to live in society and culture. Just in a human fucking race. Fox News is not the human race. CNN is not the human race. That is a whole dogmatic dogma snuggie they just feed you. And you just lap it up like a fucking good lap dog. No critical thinking, no dietetic thinking. That's what's happened here in the Mormon church. They throw it out to their masses, and their masses won't even think about it. And when they do think about it, they go pop pills. This is the pill-popping capital of the world for a reason. For a reason. Bar none. This place has lost it. It's been set back so far, it's like lots of places in the United States. They jerry-rigged the districts. I mean, Congress, it's a fucking mess. But culturally, how can you change? How can you fight back on the nuclear cartel, the Pacific genocide? How can you fight back on that when you're not out in society? You know, you get up, and I understand you've been fucking had. I understand we got rid of tariffs, so you got to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, sit in your cocoon in your car, listen to fucking whatever radio show you listen to, or music or whatever. You get to work, you associate with your small group. 85% of sex in the United States is initiated in the workplace. Why? Because that's the only people they know. Because they don't freaking mingle with each other. They go get a dog because the dog will be obedient to them, because they're not going to take risk and try to have relationships with other people. That's hard work. They're not going to get out into the environment and hike. Sweet are the uses of adversity. They're not going to do it. Well, by not doing that, you create this fucking dogma snuggie. Come the fuck out of it. Wake the fuck up, you fucking dogmatic fucks. Everybody. Come on. Stay in tune and see you in San Francisco on the 26th. On the beach. Out in the street. That's where we'll meet.
All nuclear fighters, all hands on deck, all hands on deck, all hands on deck. All nuclear fighters, all hands on deck, all hands on deck, all hands on deck. They'll be calling you a radical.